It has been about 2 years since I've entered the workforce as a Gen Zer, and surprising enough, I have just recently entered my third position.
It's so typical and so disappointing, frankly.
I know what you're thinking, that is typical Gen Z behavior. They don't want to work, they have no loyalty, they're just chasing the bag, the next best thing essentially. And honestly, I understand why you would think that. Us Gen Zers, we don't exactly have a good reputation when it comes to sticking around in a job.
You can say that again, pal.
According to Deloitte, 61% of Gen Z employees plan to quit their job in the next 2 years. In fact, 1 in 6 hiring managers say that they are hesitant to hire from this cohort.
We got this one from the Daily Mail. Bosses are firing Gen Z workers in record time. Yeah.
But what if I told you that it's not because we don't want to work? It's because most workplaces don't know how to engage us. Now, don't get me wrong. Gen Z, we are not perfect. We can be impatient, we crave that instant feedback, and yes, we have high expectations when it comes to our careers. But here's the thing, we're also ambitious, resourceful, and eager to make an impact. The challenge is that there's often a disconnect between what Gen Z needs to thrive and how the workplace is currently structured. Now, if you're an HR director, training manager, supervisor, or business leader, I get it. You're juggling retention strategies, employee engagement, and company culture, all the while trying to keep up with these shifting workforce expectations. And then you have the so-called entitled generation who wants to get promoted before their coffee even gets cold.
I've been here 8 months and I would like a 50% raise.
It's frustrating when you invest time and resources into hiring young professionals only to see them leave after a year or even less. My name is Hannah Jennerine, and as a Gen Z workplace transformation strategist, I want to help you understand why Gen Z can be challenging to retain. I'll share real examples from my own journey, why I've switched jobs 3 times in 2 years, and more importantly, 3 powerful strategies to help you keep Gen Z engaged, motivated, and committed to your workplace. I also want to note that while my experience isn't universal, there are key patterns that bridge the gap between what Gen Z needs and what organizations can do to retain us. And if you stick around until the end, I'll be giving away a free workbook, the 5 things that every employer must know about Gen Z employees to help you take these strategies even further. And also, while you're at it, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn your post notifications on for more content. Now, without further ado, let's get to it. So when I started my first job after college at 22 years old, I was so excited and so fortunate to work at an organization that allowed me to build my skill set. As a training coordinator, I had no strict guidelines and, amazingly enough, no micromanagement. I had the complete creative freedom to build a training program from the ground up, and honestly, I loved it. It was exciting to have the autonomy to create something impactful without someone constantly looking over my shoulder. And for the first year, it was absolutely exhilarating. I was working $36,000 a year as an exempt employee. I was also working more than 40 hours a week and giving the best of myself every single day. I know that there is this stigma that Gen Z is all about money, and to a certain degree, I think we can all say that compensation is essential. If you are working and going above and beyond, you deserve a salary that aligns with your value. And for me, at the time, I wasn't focused on compensation because I knew I was just getting started. The most important thing to me was gaining that experience and building my skill set. And within 12 months, I delivered over 100 high-quality trainings, exceeding every expectation placed on me. And I loved it. But over time, I started to feel like I was pouring, with no real direction for where this could take me. The company that I worked at had a very flat structure, a strict budget, and no clear growth trajectory. While everyone was super nice and friendly and they wanted me to stay, promotions were not an option. Professional development was minimal, and my career progression was super unclear. I ignored this feeling of boredom at first because, after all, I loved the work that I was doing. I know that I was making an impact, but slowly the excitement started to fade because I didn't know what was next. There was no talk of career development conversations, and soon enough, I lost a sense of purpose in my work. My role began to feel like a dead end rather than a stepping stone because the work that I was passionate about started turning into this routine of tasks. And no matter how much effort I put in, there was no clear next step. So after much reflecting, as much as I love the organization, it was time for me to move forward. And the lesson here for leaders is that while Gen Z thrives on autonomy and creativity, we also need a vision for the future. We want to know what potential we could tap into. If there's no clear growth trajectory, whether through skill development, mentorship, or advancement opportunities, it's only a matter of time before we start looking elsewhere. It's not about entitlement, at least not for me. It's about progression. We don't need a promotion every 6 months, but we do need to feel like we're growing, learning, and evolving. So for my HR managers and training managers and directors and leaders, this means creating clear career pathways, offering mentorship, and ensuring that young professionals see a future within your organization. Show them early on that growth is readily accessible. Because the truth of the matter is that when growth feels out of reach, retention becomes impossible. And Gen Z who values purpose in their work, they will walk away. After I leave my first job, I'm now in a position where I regain the sense of enthusiasm. I'm eager to explore the options that are out there for me, and in the beginning, I felt that there was so much possibility with the new job that I took. It was also a training position, so I was speaking, I was, around the community, I loved it. But what excited me was the fact that I got to enhance my public speaking capability through storytelling, and to create these meaningful connections with my audience in a way that I hadn't before. However, it was only 2 weeks into the job when I realized that something wasn't right. I went from being encouraged to tap into my potential, being creative, and building these strong relationships with these partners that I was working with, to having my ideas consistently shut down. If I wanted to join a committee or a group and involve myself with other colleagues, I was told no. In this position, the environment felt stifling, something that I'd never experienced before. And I'm sure you probably heard the phrase, people don't quit their jobs, they quit their bosses. And let me tell you, this was absolutely true for me, because I lasted a mere 9 months. It wasn't the work that made me leave, it was the leadership. And this is when I really began to understand the importance of leadership support in driving employee engagement. Today, as I reflect, I recognize the biggest red flag for me was when I started to feel isolated, as if I were being set up to fail. I was told that I was there to be quiet and listen, and it was evident that there was no trust. And over time, this fear and this frustration only grew. I felt like I was constantly trying to prove my value, and like I was walking on eggshells. I was scared of how my supervisor was going to react to any idea that I had, and needless to say, there was no room for any innovation, there was no encouragement for growth, and there was no space for me to feel like my voice truly mattered. I was hired to train, but it was instead reduced to tasks like buying coffee, printing certificates, and handling busy work that had nothing to do with my potential. It was a weird contrast because in my first job, I was empowered to develop my capacity, yet here I felt like I was consistently being torn down. It got to the point where I dreaded going into work. I want you to imagine that, a 22, 23-year-old dreading to go to work, right? It's weird. I felt like an outsider. And it wasn't just micromanagement or the lack of positive leadership. It was the complete absence of trust that affected my self-belief. I even started questioning my capabilities and my skill set. So inevitably, I left. I had to, at least for my psychological well-being. But this experience made me realize just how crucial trust, leadership, and the space to innovate are for an employee's growth and engagement. So with this being said, the lesson here is that leadership matters. When Gen Z or any employee feels unsupported or unheard, disengagement is inevitable. Leadership isn't just about managing tasks or directing employees. It's about creating an environment where people feel genuinely valued. Leaders must establish an atmosphere of trust, transparency, and open communication where team members feel encouraged to contribute. Feeling isolated and shut down creates a ripple effect on employee engagement and morale. So, as HR directors, as training managers, as supervisors and leaders, developing a professional and supportive relationship with Gen Z is crucial. And you can do this by giving employees a sense of ownership. This is a key in retention. As a Gen Zer, I want to talk to my boss. I want to communicate with them. I want to let them know what I'm doing, where I may need assistance, and essentially, I want to have that relationship with them. If you want to keep talent engaged and committed, you must actively not only invest in their growth, but also recognize the power of positive leadership. Fast forward to today, I've recently started my third position.
That was fast.
And for the first time, I can truly see a future here. This job is different. I see the vision. I see where this program can take me. I see the leadership opportunities that I could have. If I wanted to cross-train, I could. If I wanted to get my graduate degree, they would pay a portion of that. If I wanted to take an online course to increase my knowledge in a particular area, done. There's initiative, there's momentum, there's real opportunities for advancement. In addition, leadership, they want innovation. I feel heard, valued, and encouraged to contribute in meaningful ways. If we need new equipment as a training team or resources to help us grow, there's always a conversation about it. And that conversation has been fruitful and supportive. I don't feel scared to contribute in meetings. I don't feel suppressed. I'm not scared to share my thoughts. And more importantly, I've regained the confidence that I have in myself to perform, because before I felt shut down. Here, I feel like my voice wants to be heard. Flexibility is also on the horizon. After 6 months, there is an opportunity and an option for remote work. In fact, right now, I know that if I have a doctor's appointment at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, my supervisor will allow me to rearrange my schedule for the week to accommodate to this. Now, this is all to say that I'm excited to stay. So here's the lesson. If you are a leader managing and supervising young professionals, and if you want to retain Gen Z, prioritize leadership that encourages growth, flexibility, and trust. Trust is the key, because here is where we stay. When leaders invest in our development and give us the space to contribute meaningfully, retention becomes a natural outcome. I want to do more. I want to provide more value to my workplace. I want to see all that I could do, all that I could become. I want to help other employees. That's where I'm at, especially when I get that growth, when I get that, that trust, when I've built that relationship, and when I see the value in where I'm working. So this has been my experience so far in the workplace, and hopefully you've gained some insight into why we think, work, and engage the way that we do. It's not about being lazy or disloyal, at least not in my experience. I work. I like working. Like I mentioned, throughout these 3 steps and strategies, it's about leadership, trust, and opportunity. Now, as I promised, if you want to dive deeper into how you can better engage Gen Z in your workplace, I've got something for you. In the description, I've linked my free ebook, The 5 Things That Every Employer Must Know About Gen Z. Because let's be honest, real change starts with understanding. This resource will give you actionable insights and strategies with case studies, examples, and practical steps that can help bridge the gap with Gen Z and keep them engaged. And if you want to continue the conversation, please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. And also on this platform, I share actionable tips for engaging Gen Z and building a more effective workplace. Like I said earlier, Gen Z, we are not going anywhere. By 2030, we're expected to make up 30% of the workforce. So the real question is, will your company be ready to engage and retain us or not? I want you to walk away with real value, because this disconnect, it won't fix itself. And if my story resonated with you, I want to hear your thoughts. What's your experience been like? What challenges are you facing when it comes to managing or working with Gen Z? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, also don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn your post notifications on for more content. My name is Hannah Jennerine, and I will see you with a video very soon.